Before we start today's video, I just wanted to take a quick second. We're coming into the Memorial Day weekend, which in the United States commemorates those who have given their lives and fought to protect our freedoms. Freedom isn't free. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment, all the freedoms we enjoy here in the United States come at a price. So please have a safe Memorial Day weekend, have an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend, but when you're out cooking on the grill on Monday with your day off, remember what it took to get you that day off and to protect the freedom to do what you're doing. Beyond that, let's get started. Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. We occasionally get asked questions like, does the number of the Glock, the model number, have anything to do with the size of it? And what are the differences between the different kinds of Glock models that are out there? So I've got about 15 of them here on the table. Of course, this isn't every Glock ever made. It's just a representative sample of each of the categories. So starting with the slim line here and working our way across. So I'm just going to kind of go through real quick, and while I'm doing that, I'll also tell you about the comparable model. If I got a 40, does it come in a 9, that kind of thing. And to save a bunch of time, all of these have been double safety checked, both by Hammer and myself. So I'm not going to open every one of these up. They're all unloaded. And that way I can just kind of more streamlined go through it. So we'll go ahead and get started with the slim line. This is the 42. This is currently the smallest Glock made, and it took over the space of smallest from the baby Glocks, the 26-27 series. It's a slim line. It holds 6 rounds, and it's chambered in 380 ACP, and this laser is a Crimson Trace laser guard that I added onto it. In that same category is the 43, which is chambered in 9mm. It also holds 6, and these two don't have any other caliber comparisons. They don't have these in 40 or 45 or any other caliber currently. But when I look at this, the 42 I do carry. The 43 is just enough bigger to kind of seems to defeat the purpose. So those are the slim lines. Now we're going to move into the Subcompact, which this is the baby Glock. This one's a 27 chambered in 40, and it holds 9 rounds. There's a 26 chambered in 9mm that holds 10, basically the same size gun. And this, for the longest time, was the smallest thing Glock had to offer. That's their Subcompact series. Moving back to the slim line, I'm kind of going, these are increasing size, basically. This is the 43X, and this holds 10 rounds, and basically what this was is people complained that the 43, 42 were too low capacity. So they extended the grip and added some capacity to them, but it's still in the slimline series. When Glock has had a slimline out before, it was the Glock 36, which is actually in this stack, and I'll show it to you, but it really wasn't all that popular. When Glock went into with the 42 and 43, they kind of went all in with the slimline. And speak of the devil, there's the 36. This is in their slimline series, and it's a single stack 45 ACP, and it holds 6 rounds. This is actually kind of a cool gun. It's kind of fun to shoot. It's easy to control. It just never became popular. Still in the subcompact realm, we're now in the large frame subcompacts. So there's 2 different guns in that. The 29, which is in my hand here, which holds 10 rounds, and the 30, which holds 9, which is the 30 is a 45 ACP. And they're considered subcompacts, but they use the wider frame because of the larger round. There's not too many guns in that particular category. Bouncing back to the slimline again, we get the 48, which also holds 10 rounds. It's chambered in 9mm. And again, this is kind of an example of Glock going all in with that slimline once they released the 42 and it became popular, and they just kind of took off with it. Next thing I've got here is a 19. This is the kind of the classic Glock. I would say that the 17 should be considered the classic Glock. It was the first one. It's the one that made it commercially popular. But if you were to look at what do most people pick if they're picking a Glock for a first gun, it's the compact Glock 19 chambered in 9mm. It's probably their most popular gun. Holds 15 rounds, and there is a 23 which is chambered in 40, which holds 13 rounds. With the 40 you lose a round or 2 depending on the category of gun. But among all the Glocks, this is really probably the bread and butter one. Then we've got something the same size as a 19, but a very different caliber, a Glock 44. It's chambered in 22 LR. there have been a lot of conversion kits on the market for many, many years, and people were always pestering Glock to make a 22. They finally went and did it. So now you have a 22 equivalent of your Glock 19 to practice with. It's actually quite a cool gun, kind of fun. Then we get to the 19X, which is their crossover series. This one is chambered in 9mm. Right now they don't have anything in the crossover series other than 9mm. And this is another one of those. Glock wasn't the first to do crossovers. There's quite a few companies that have been doing them for a long time. But Glock is the first one to throw the X on the end of it and make a big deal out of it. Marketing. And that's what Glock's always been all about. Effectively what you've got is a 19 size slide and a 17 size full-size grip. So you've got the capacity of 17 rounds. There's also a Glock 45, which is basically a Gen 5 black version instead of the flat dark earth of this same gun. As we keep moving down the line, now we're into the 45. That's the one I mentioned. So this is basically the same as the 19X. It doesn't have the lanyard loop, and it's a Gen 5 chassis, but it is the same capacity, 17 rounds. Now, the 17, the one that started it all, the one that energized the polymer revolution, by far wasn't the first polymer wonder. It was the first really commercially successful polymer wonder. It's got a full 3-finger grip. It holds 17 rounds. It comes in a 40 equivalent called the 22, and this is kind of where Glock started, and this is what really got them going. Glock's had a larger capacity or larger caliber version of that same thing. So here's another full size. And by the way, Glock calls their full size a standard. This particular one is in 10mm. It's the Glock 20. It holds 15 rounds. The Glock 21 is available in 45 ACP that holds 13 rounds. These are big guns. They're a full handful. You've got a 1911 size gun here, and this is the large frame. So the 10mm and the 45 ACP are on Glock's larger frame, similar to what I pointed out between the 26-27 and the 29-30. Then we get into competition. Up until recently, these were the largest Glocks. There was a Glock 17 long slide that was just a hair longer than this. Now this one happens to be chambered in 40, and it holds 15 rounds. There is a 34 that's chambered in 9mm that holds 17 rounds. And these are their long slide competition cut guns that also came with about a 1 pound lighter trigger from the factory. Now you can get that connector and put it in any of these guns. In fact, most of these have that connector, but these come factory that way. Then Glock decided to go all in with the Glock 40, which is in 10mm auto, and it's an MOS. So it's set up to put a red dot on it. This is my hog hunting gun. So when I go out in the woods, go hunt some hog, this is what walks out with me. This holds 15 rounds, and it's just a pleasure to shoot. It's a big thing. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but it's super easy to control. So again, that's not necessarily every Glock ever made in the history of Glock, but it kind of gives you an idea of what's out there, the size comparisons, and where they fit in. The model number is really more just of a sequence number than it is anything else. It's basically when they filed their patent. Hopefully you found that a little bit interesting, possibly useful. The Glock does have a wide array. They've got one of the largest caliber and size varieties of any manufacturer. If there's a popular caliber out there, Glock makes a gun in it, and if there's a popular size out there, they probably make a gun in it. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to get notified if you do. Check us out on Patreon, Gunstreamer, Twitter, Instagram. We're kind of all over the place. And thank you.